Hey there. Alright, welcome to this version of the VTS. What we're going to do is, in this issue, or in the next several months, I'm going to animate a scene that's a little bit more physical. I'm going to be doing I guess you would call it a James Brown inspired dance. Okay? If you don't know who James Brown is, he's like known as the Godfather of Soul. You know, he's got "I feel good," okay, it's that guy. All right, dude could dance. I mean, he was like Michael Jackson before Michael Jackson. In fact, most of Michael Jackson's cool moves he ripped off James Brown. So, anyhow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of create a dance move out of various pieces of James Brown type dance moves. Okay, and so this is going to be for a couple of things we want to work on. How to do we want to learn how to study video reference, how to do it the right way, how to not do it, and then also take a look at just building the animation from the ground up. I'm not going to take as much time in these next several videos explaining what I'm doing. I will explain what I'm doing in the sense that I will explain the decision I'm making and why I'm doing it, but I'm not going to take the time to build up the underlying principles again, because previous videos have covered that quite a lot. So when I say I'm tweaking this right here because I want a stronger silhouette, I'm not going to sit there and explain what that means. Okay, I'm going to assume that you're going to have at least put in your homework and studied previous videos to come to an understanding of what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so without too much more delay, let's get into this. The first thing I want to do is I want to take a look at. I'm going to use 3 parts of different pieces of James Brown dancing that I found reference for on the wonderful YouTube. And the idea being, I want to take bits and pieces of each one and kind of create something new that is very, I wouldn't say exact, but it's faithful. Okay, and this is where studying video reference is really important, because I've kind of said to various people through the years, I think that the use of video reference today is becoming a crutch, because what's happening is animators are they don't really know what they're doing, or they're not really sure what they want to do, so they get up and they act a scene out and they just kind of copy themselves acting it out, or they do something, and to me it seems pretty limited. Milt Kahl said in a famous recorded MP3, well, it's not MP3 at the time, but he was giving a lecture to new animators at Disney back in the late 70s, and he was saying, these guys who use rotoscope, who use the live action, they're using it as a crutch because they're not thinking, and so they just kind of copy what's there and kind of work off of that. I think we're kind of falling into that habit, and I know that's going to be a rather unpopular thing to say, because there's a lot of people out there who teach that form of animation where you videotape yourself and then copy it and stuff, and I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think it's a good way to do things. So I do have strong opinions about this, and so I'm going to operate from a different perspective, where video reference is important to understand, but that you still have to animate. Okay, it's like if you've done a project at school, whether university level or high school or secondary education, wherever school is for you, and you had to write a paper. Well, you had to write a paper about something, so you would go to the library and you get reference books, encyclopedias, historical things, biographies. You would get information, and you would read that reference information, and you would understand it, and then you had to process it in your own mind and communicate it with your own words. So you had to study the reference, understand it, assimilate it, and then communicate it in a unique way. That's what you have to do for animation. If you had gone to the library and taken the encyclopedia and wrote down word for word what the encyclopedia said, that's called plagiarism. It's against the rules. You would get a failing grade, and in some schools you get kicked out. Okay, that's what happens when you take something like this and you just kind of try and copy it. I don't believe in plagiaristic animation. Many traditional 2D animators, the best in the world, don't video themselves acting something out. However, they do study video reference like this all the time. So that aside, let's get into it. Now, I want to do kind of like 3 moves combined into one. So the first one is kind of something where I want him to kind of start right around here. He does this little side, side, side thing, and then he kind of shuffles back, and he kind of stops right there. Okay, so somewhere, I mean, I could start it right here if I want. If you just watch that, hopefully you can see it. But really the part that I care about is that right there, all the way back to there. The little knee swivel, and then the shuffle back. The knee swivel and the shuffle back. The knee swivel and then the shuffle back. Okay, so that's the first part that I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and write this down, and whenever this whole video is just going to be me studying this video reference, kind of figuring out what I want to do. So, and I'm just going to go through and do it. The first thing I'm going to write down is, no, not this one. I actually want to use this program. I'm going to write down knee swivel and shuffle back. Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to construct what it is I want to use. So there's the first part of the move, and it ends up where his foot's behind him, and it's going to go into the second part of the move, which is, this is an older clip of James Brown, where he does this shuffle back kind of move right here. And I'll actually kind of zoom this up a bit because it is kind of hard to see because it's not a great video quality. But what happens is he shuffles back, and then right here you'll see that he crosses his his left foot behind his right foot. So he crosses it like so, getting ready for a spin. Okay, and then what happens is he spins. He kind of counter spins, and then he spins all the way around the other way on that heel to come up with something new. So what I want to do is kind of pick up from here. You see how he's got that left foot coming back right there? Here we have the same kind of picture. His left foot's coming back, and in this particular clip he doesn't do this move, but I want to do this move, so I'm looking for a way to hook up with the next one. So this left foot comes back and his right foot's forward, and his weight's on that. Then what I want to do is kind of transition from that position pretty much right into this, like that, and then he kind of counter rotates this way a little bit to kind of build up that kinetic spring. He's winding the spring, and then he spins around real fast this way, and you see it where he goes like this, wham, like that. Okay, and that's move 2. So that's the thing I want to do. So the knee shuffle and this and the swivel, the shuffling back, and then the left foot behind the right foot, counter rotate, and then in this instance he was kind of act this out here myself, just kind of get a feel for it. He's counter rotating clockwise. Okay, he's turning clockwise, and then a spin counterclockwise. So he counter rotates clockwise. How much does he counter rotate clockwise? Well, let's take a look. Okay, if this direction right here is 12 o'clock, like his belly button points at 12 o'clock, he kind of counters probably somewhere, right around 2 o'clock. He's kind of spinning almost to 2 o'clock right there. And then he spins all the way around to 3 o'clock the other way. So it's not a 180 degree spin, it's a 270 degree spin. So he rotates, it's like a counter rotate. He's kind of, or a in anticipation. I don't want to use the word counter because it gets me confused with the word counterclockwise. So what I'm going to do is I'll use a different word. I'll use the word the antic rotate. Okay, he's going to anticipate. It's like an anticipation move from 12 to 2 o'clock. Okay, on the clock, and then hold the beat, and then it's going to be a counterclockwise move or spin, okay, counterclockwise spin back to 3 o'clock or 270 degrees, okay? Because, you know, if he did 360 degrees, he'd come right back around to where he was, but he's not doing that. He's going 270, so he's facing as if he had just made a simple turn right, but instead of making a simple turn right, he's kind of doing this and then doing a big spin around to end up at the right, okay? As I bash up my office and make a mess of things. So that's kind of, I'm trying to build this move right here. So he's got this little knee swivel shuffle back, and then it moves into the kind of like that left foot kind of deal. And then the last little bit that I want him to do is, it's like as he's turned, he's 270 degrees different, so now he's kind of looking in a different direction. But when he's looking in that different direction, I want him to do something like, he ends up here standing up. So I'm going to come up here and just use a different color to kind of mark a change into the new clip, so that color coding my notes so that I know which clip it's from. So he's standing up, and then he does this little, raises the hands and then brings them down in a weird kind of circular inside thing, and then he kicks his legs out and does this little jig thing. Alright, so it looks like this. Okay? The thing is, what I want to do is I want to start from this stand up, and then he brings his arms up and he does this little swoop in thing. Okay? So I'm going to make the note here, arms up, and then like an inner swoop, and the inner swoop would be swoop, swoop. Inner swoop 2 times downward. Okay? And then as he gets down there, the legs come apart. So legs apart, and like a little slide jump kind of forward, legs apart, a jig, slide, jump forward. And then here's where he, in this particular clip, he stops and stands up, and he does this little wiggly thing here with his hand. And as he does that wiggly thing with his hand, like he's winding up, and he goes down like that, and he lifts up something and kind of stops. Okay? Wiggly, wiggly, lift and stop. Okay? I haven't decided if I want to do the wiggly, wiggly, lift and stop sort of thing, or if I just want him to go from the jig, and instead of standing up right there at the end of the jig, instead have him jig into that position there. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. I think it would work better as if he kind of jigged his way and then stopped right there and then kind of did the lift thing and then stopped. So that's the kind of move I'm looking to build. So the jigs, jump, slide, jump forward thing where he does his legs kicking and he's coming forward, and then that ends in a kind of a legs wide down position. And then there's a beat, and then the hand, it's like the hand up and stand wobble kind of thing, and then hold that, and that's going to be the end of our little dance. Okay, so if we go back to it, he's kind of got this little knee thing, and then he kind of does this little shuffle back, crosses the left foot behind him, kind of rotates this way, and then 270 degrees spins the other way, standing up. And then from there, he does this arms up, swoop, swoop, legs apart, little deal, kind of like this little dance thing coming forward. And then he ends down here with his hands down, and he does this little lift thing. Okay, so I'm kind of taking a look at different pieces of the video and trying to figure out how I want to build this. Now, this is kind of like this is what I would call a general level of building this out. You know, this all right here is very general. All right, it's kind of like the beats, the general overview of things. Now what I want to do is I need to break each of these things down into kind of like a specific piece of breakdown. Each of these actions has a lot of sub-actions that I want to try and understand. Sometimes I'll do drawings, but a lot of times my hand is not good at capturing what it is I want to do, so I take a lot of text notes. It helps me kind of break down what it is I'm doing. The important thing here isn't necessarily a drawing, it's just understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get into this whole first bit right here where he kind of gets into the knee swivel sort of deal, and kind of take a look at that. We're going to go back to this piece right here where he does this. We'll start from right there, or maybe right here. Okay, so he's starting with this kind of a pose right there. I'm going to kind of bring this back up here, and I'm just going to kind of doodle this a little, where we have, well, this is going to pop behind, which is unfortunate. But what I'll do then is I'll use this little deal on top. Alright, just to try and get a sense of what's going on with that pose. And I come over here and I'm just going to draw, you know, a slightly bigger version of it. Okay, and the idea here is that this foot's like this, and this one's kind of dragging like that, and then like that. Okay, so it's not great, but it kind of gets the idea. This will be number one, where pretty much it's like we're ready to go. It's the right foot up off the ground. Okay, and the weight is on the left foot right here. Okay, then we take a look at it. And what happens is as he steps down here, we'll see he kind of, as he steps down, this knee kind of comes in as he steps down. You see that right there where the knee kind of might be a little bit on the small side, so we'll just zoom in here. You see how this knee kind of kicks in right there? It's like his knee is pointing in, and as he does that, he kicks this knee out. So it's like the one is popping into the other. Alright? And then this one comes back and that one kind of finishes it out. So the next step is you know, number two would be you know, number two is his right knee on the down step swings to the right, which then knocks the left knee to the right. Okay, this is all in the down move. And I'm just working out the footwork right now, and I'll go back and I'll kind of work out the upper body. So this is just the footwork. So as his weight comes down, the down weight onto this right foot, the right knee kicks over and the left knee then kicks over. And then of course number three is that the right knee swings back out to the left, and then the left knee continues out this way, creating the bow-legged effect. Okay? So I'm going to put bow-legged. So that's the next step along the line right here, where he comes down, in, swings out, and then boom, like so. Now there's a little bit of something right here where it goes out. This knee right here, I'm just studying this pretty much for the first time. It kicks out to the right and then kind of collapses, but it doesn't really keep moving. It kind of hits a wall and sort of stops. All right, so at this point right here, number four is that left knee kind of hits a point right here where it just sort of stops, and then as the weight of his hips continues down, that left knee then gives out even more along with the right knee. Okay, so that little line right there, we now shoot past it. Okay, don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to keep the drawings kind of clear. All right, and then when he does that, he kicks his heel right out. All right, from that, the inverse is it goes from I guess you would do this like number 5. The left heel toe inverses. Okay, so that means it goes from this and it turns into, well, probably best to just look at it, right? That. So it turns into something like this. Okay, so when it does that one on the left knee heel thing, there's kind of a point at that moment his right heel comes up. So at this moment what we have is this right heel is up. Okay, and then right there it goes down and it's kind of swiveling back and forth. So the feet kind of do a counter swivel. So then what happens is it's kind of like this alternating deal where we end up like this, and then we end up like this again. Okay, so it's kind of going back and forth, and that kind of creates the wave with the knees. And I could break it down even more, but what we want is a sense with the knees kind of waving back and forth. And as he does that, as that starts to happen, he kind of shortens it up, and the frequency gets tighter. We see right here, and then he just goes right from that and then shuffles straight back. So once he does like 1 or 2 of these, it just goes straight back. So then he just shuffles straight back. Okay, so that's kind of what happens right there, and that's kind of gets us to the point, and then that's when we get this position where this left leg is kind of cutting back behind the right. Now the position of that is pretty specific. In fact, my drawing here is rather sad, so I'm going to redo it. The idea here, let me see, I'm just going to take my lasso tool. Oops. I'm going to take all this business and kind of slide it up a little bit so I give myself some room. Well, what do you know? Okay, I guess I won't do that. I'm in the wrong layer in Photoshop. Never mind. All the same. We're going to redraw that again, where this foot is like so, and this one is back behind, but he's on the toe. Okay, and that toe position is not really quite like that. I'll work this out a little bit more once I get into the CG, into posing the puppet. But right there it looks like it's kind of as I've drawn it, but I think what needs to happen is it needs to be even flatter on the other one. So one more time, and this happens. I want to solve this now. I thought I'd solve it later, but I really want to solve it now. So what I'm going to do here is one last time I'm going to draw the right foot like this, and this one right here is a little bit stronger, and what actually is going on here is the top of the foot is facing forward on him. Okay, so as this foot comes behind, it actually does this. All right, if you imagine this is the top of his foot and his other foot, it does not cross behind like this. It crosses behind like this, which allows him, kind of gives him a base to spin around off of. All right, so this is where I want to end up. All right, so let's think about this. When he first goes through, we're going to start with his weight on his left foot, and the right heel is kind of up, and he's ready to go. Then, as the weight comes down on that step, the right knee kicks in, and as it does that, it kind of knocks the left knee out. And as it does that, the right knee comes back out again as the weight continues down. So right here is what I would call the weight bottom. That's where he's all the way down and the legs are kind of bow-legged out. And then what happens is, well, the weight bottom probably isn't there. I just realized number 4 is the weight bottom. So all this happens very, very quickly. Number 4, that is what I would call the weight bottom. What I mean by that is that's when his hips are kind of hit their lowest point in there. From there, he's going to stand up. So as he does that, it kind of like kicks out, and then when that happens, he inverses the heel out and brings the toes in, and he does that alternately with each of these foot. So when he does one, he does the other, does the other, does the other. It causes the knees to do that wobble, that wavy sort of thing, okay? And we could choose to do that 2 or 3 times. I'll take a look at it when I get in there. A lot of that depends on the time that we have for the shot. But it kind of does a little side-side sort of deal. And then kind of stands, and then from there, as soon as he does that a couple of times, he straightens up and does this little quick shuffle back. Very, very quick shuffling back. And that right here would be, let me just put the word shuffle. All right, so he's going to shuffle back and kind of stand, and then this foot kind of swings in behind, and that's sort of where we kind of take a break on this. Now, what does the upper body look like during this whole thing? A lot of it just seems to be his shoulders ride up right there, and they overlap, and then they come down. And it's all pretty simple. It's like he's got just this little thing right here, and then he kind of comes up like this. So the upper body is much more it's more still, which is actually really cool when you think about the dance, because he's like got this contrast. He's got all this business down below, and everything up here is relatively still. In fact, if you get this clip right here, it's called the Night Train. If you look for James Brown Night Train on the Night Train dance on YouTube, you'll see he does this amazing bit of business where everything from his waist up is still as a bone, just boom, and everything below is just like a flurry of feet. It's incredible stuff. So the idea that he has this contrast within his dance is really pretty cool. So I'm just going to build out a little bit of a box right here in the middle of all this business to sort of illustrate what I think the upper body could be doing. So we want the shoulders up. Kind of messed that up there. We want the shoulders up a bit, and then as his weight comes down, the shoulders drop. Okay, and then he ends up with this little thing. Let me take a look at this, where it just kind of accents this slide right here. See that? And so everything's kind of mirroring that kind of move. And he only does that. He doesn't wave back and forth in it. He just does it the one way, and he kind of holds it. So what I'm going to try and do here is kind of do this business. Okay? So this would be, let me get me a color I can see. This would be number 1 of this would be number 2 of this, and this would be number 3 of this, all the way up until he stands up straight at the end of the shuffle. Okay, so that's kind of like my notes on this first section. Moving on, and all right, so let's keep going here. First I'm going to save my notes here. Save as JB Breakdown. Okay. Going on to the second one, we're just going to take a look at this real quick, because we've solved a lot of this already. See how right here, this part right there, this is kind of how you break it down. That's his knee, and the top of his foot is right here. That's the top of his foot. So he's crossed it quite a bit over. And then the other leg is like this, and he's rolled up on the side. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll get into this business. Something like so. We'll draw this kind of from the side. Alright, where this leg's very much forward. And this leg is very much back. And then the top of his foot is actually like so. Alright, you see that? It's really crappy, but I think you get the idea. And then what he's like right here is, as he does that, he rotates around to get the whole weight on it. Alright, so as the whole weight settles on this, he then spins clockwise. So that's the anticipation spin. And then, you know, holds for a beat. And then everything after that is just this quick spin around where he ends up facing this direction over here. Alright, so as he spins, you know, I got the feet really far apart here, so it's easy for me to draw and see. Again, my draftsmanship here is not important, it's just the understanding of what's going on. So now here he's, you know, he's kind of, he's fully presented, and he is where he's supposed to be, and he kind of comes up rigid, which is what you want. And in this instance, you're probably going to get this arm like that and this one bat like that, because to kind of build that torque. Okay, so he's going to come around like this and then spin back and then end up straight up, because it's, you know, the whole contrast of spin versus stillness. Okay, so you got to hold and then spin and stillness. It's the classic Charlie Chaplin deal, you know, it's a three-stage thing. You know, tell him what you're going to do it, tell him what you did. Okay, tell him what you're going to do, stage, hold, do it, stage, hold, tell him what you did. Okay, so that's kind of his approach here. It's great showmanship. It's fantastic. So this part of the move is fairly easy to kind of figure out. It's after this is just kind of you know, just kind of go from there. And so this foot right here is planted as the pivot the whole time. So his left foot is the pivot. Okay, that's important to remember. So what that means is that as he spins, somewhere in this breakdown, and I'm going to take the time to figure that out right now, somewhere in this breakdown, you know, I'm going to guess that he's left foot's planted. This right foot has to be lifted. Okay, and this arm will be back here, and this one will be like that, and this is the back of him here. Okay, so this he's kind of corkscrewing himself around. So this is still the pivot right here, and he does this, and this will be kind of like our, you know, our ugly breakdown sort of thing. The important thing is I want that right foot up as he spins through it, but not too far off the ground, because then it creates a really crazy silhouette. So as we see him spin here, that right foot has to come up and swing all the way around. But somewhere in here the switch happens where the right foot takes over. Right? So that's something I'm just noticing right now. He spins, and it's really kind of amazing when you look at what's going on down here with the feet. There's this kind of shift around. So I'm going to go ahead and erase all of this business right here, because I didn't really understand it as well as I thought I did. This is where Keith makes mistakes and you get to watch. But somewhere in here, I want to kind of lose this one too. And maybe bring this leg up a bit. Alright, let's see here. So what's happening is this one takes over, and it's going to be the pivot on the toe. at the end. And then this one is kind of coming up. All right, so this will be the end of it, end of the spin. So he starts pivoting on the left foot, and as he goes around, somewhere in the middle, the right foot heel becomes the pivot. I could spend a lot of time trying to draw that, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to make a note of it here. The right foot heel becomes a pivot, and then the left foot slides, and then the right foot toe becomes a pivot, and then the left foot glides out. Alright, so this is kind of like a sequence of events that I want to mark down. So my breakdown will be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. It's kind of like the order of events. So it's just important for me to kind of understand that this is what I'm trying to do. That's just all I want to talk about that. Alright, so then we kind of get into the last little bit of business here, where I want him to kind of end up in a position like this, where, you know, that left foot's kind of glided out right there. It's a good place to match up. And so then he kind of brings his arms up, and he does this little hop bump right there. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer for this and kind of go from there. In this instance, we will do, he's standing up. Okay, he's on this foot. This foot's kind of glided out a little bit. These arms are down, like so. And then he does a little hop bump, where both feet are kind of strong. And so it's kind of like a little hop down. So he goes boom, boom. Alright, so this is his hip weight right here. Kind of go pop, then down, and then at the bottom of this, at the bottom of that weight, he brings the arms up. Okay, like so. And then the arms swing over as he comes back up. So as he comes back up again with the hips, what we see then is he's kind of at the top, and the arms are up, and they're kind of doing this thing up here. Okay, so he does this thing. He kind of comes up, bounce, bounce, and then up, and then the arms are in that second time. So at the top of this particular move right here, so the arms, you know, swirl 2 times, and then at the very top for the hips, the arms are down the second time, the arms are down after, you know, 2x kind of thing. Then he kind of kicks out, you know, at the top, then he kind of collapses down in the whole thing. See this? And it just goes boom. There's like this little anticipation hop right there. So it drops, and then like right there, you see that? And it's mostly in the shoulders, but some in the hips too, and off of the toes. So right there, it's kind of like this anticipation pop. So what I'm going to do, he gets to the top, the arms are in, and then there's a little anticipation hop where the shoulders are up, and then his legs are straight. So he kind of comes to the top, bottoms out, comes up, and then crashes down into this deal where he does that, where the legs kind of kick apart and the hands drop down. Alright, so we have a good clear bow-legged sort of thing there. So what we end up with is something where the legs are out and the arms are out. Alright, so the antic hop, and then down and out. Alright, so he's just kind of doing this whole deal. So let's kind of back up and take a look at this. He ends up here, and he does this little hop up, this little kind of oomp with his hips, and as he does that, he brings the arms like this, and at the very top of that, he does this little down thing, okay? And the cool thing is I'll have the video to kind of go back to as I break this down some more. It's all about understanding. It's all about understanding what's going on. And then you know, kind of going from here, it goes pretty quickly after this point. I'm going to go ahead and start from this position, right, where he's kind of down like this, and his legs are out, and well, actually the legs are out kind of straight, not quite so bow-legged. So what I'm going to do right here is kind of make that more like it really is, so that I don't get too mixed up with it. And the legs are very far apart, and then he brings them together, but this one is kind of kicked out a bit. Okay, so the legs come in as the hips go up. It's kind of like a little bit of a hop right there. So he kind of comes down into this and then pops up and kicks that forward and does this little walk thing right here. Up. And so like that. It's kind of like a little walk in place. So then his hips come up again, and this leg kind of slides back. And this leg comes up and then kicks forward like that. And as this leg kicks forward, you know, the hips drop. And so this leg is now forward. And this one's slid back quite a bit. So this leg is forward, and this one's back. And then he kind of goes through that process one more time, like so. So let's see here. As it comes right here, he doesn't really slide it back, he kicks it back. So right there, he kind of holds that for a mini beat. So I'm going to put a little note here. A mini beat hold of this. And then what happens after that is, let's take a look at this real quick. Okay. This leg comes forward a bit. This one's back quite a bit. He drops this one way back there. My perspective is really crappy, so I have to write notes like that. Forward, back, and then you know, this arm is back here like so. Alright, and when he does that, he kind of hops forward. See right there? So there's this hop where he's kind of in the air. And let's see, like so. Okay, so there's a hop. So he hits that, and there's kind of like a hop right in here to get into this back position. From here to here is a hop that lands into this. So it goes from that hold into this, and then there's another hop right here, and we're marking kind of the top of this one right there. And then as he hops forward, it lands on that foot, this one's still in the air. Okay, and then right here he stands up straight. Now, what we did not want to do is I didn't want him to have him stand up straight and do that hand thing and then come down here. So instead of landing like straight, I want him to go from this into this. So I'm going to kind of break my rules here. And as the hips come down, what I want is something like this, where this arm is down here and this arm's behind him. Okay? So the hips will come down. He does that. We'll hold that for a beat. And then he'll kind of rise up straight. Where the hand is like that. And as he rises, he does this little side wiggle. Okay, so he stands up. And, you know, that would probably, I could be a little more specific right here if I think about it. He'll come up 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Let me just take a look at that right here in the video. Yeah, okay, so he leans this and then up. Okay, so this will be like his chest wiggle, for lack of a better word. Alright, so that's the process right here, and we'll kind of go through it again, taking a look at it. He ends up from this position right here, where he is kind of down and out. You know, there's like this little antic hop right there, and he kind of does this little down, and then as his hips come up, the left leg comes forward, the right leg goes back, and then the left leg slides back, and the right leg is up in the air, and then the left leg is back all the way, and the right leg, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it screen right, but it's the other way around. So start over again. His left leg is all the way back, and his right leg is forward. Okay, and the legs are kind of in. I'm going to call this one forward and this one back. And then his right leg kind of slides back. As he does that, he's kind of hopping up. You know, he has to kind of create a hop in order to slide his foot, and as he does that, the other leg is kind of being lifted in the air. And then as his hips come down on that, that right leg is all the way back and the left one's forward, and he kind of holds it there. And then he does this other little, and he holds it for a beat, and then he does this little mini hop where he kind of switches the feet around and he leans. And he does that, and then he does this little hop thing, and right here where he's up in the air and his legs are kind of bow-legged in the air. Then the left foot plants. I'm sorry, the right foot plants, the left one's in the air, and then the left one comes down, and then his hips go down. We'll hold that for a mini beat, and then his hands are down there, and then he does that little rise thing, and that's the end of our dance. Okay, so that's just a quick look at kind of how all this is going to come together. It's not perfect. At this point, I'm kind of ready to kind of dig in a little bit deeper, maybe getting into the puppet and posing it and trying to figure out a few more details, because there's a point where you can really dig into this stuff, but I think I got a good breakdown of what's going on here. I can go back over my notes, kind of give myself some time to really look it over. But I went from a general to specific things, and then for each particular move, more specifics as I break it down piece by piece as a progression. Okay. And I'll still have my little video right here, and what I'll probably do is I'll probably cut these quick times down even tighter so that I have just the slices I need to kind of look through. But that's it for this month, and next month we'll get into, probably get into posing a little bit. I might do a little bit more white, sketch work. It really depends. But that's the whole important thing right here. It's just getting my head around what the video is doing. Kind of understanding the mechanics behind it, but not copying it so much in the way that, oh, the camera's right there, and I'm going to make sure the camera staging's perfect and everything works out. I mean, things like silhouettes and balance and all that stuff is going to take time, and that I could try and copy that from the video, but to me, that's my job. I'm an animator. I'm supposed to make this stuff look good. I'm really just trying to work out the mechanics of the feet, of the hands, and of the body, specifically what the hips are doing, so that I get that energy. Kind of, he's got that kind of poppy energy going on with the shoulders and stuff like that, and then the feet going. And if I can capture that and put these disparate pieces of motion together, I'm going to end up with a dance that's unique. It's different. It's not copied. It's not acted out, because I can't dance like James Brown. Okay, I'm a white dude. I can't dance like this, so I can't get up here and do video recording of myself, of stuff like this, and accomplish it. Okay, what I'm going to end up with is, hopefully, if I'm any good, something better than I could have possibly ever acted out. That will look right for the kind of character I'm using, that will feel like, hey, that looks like a James Brown move, but it isn't motion capture, it isn't that business, and it's not going to be super realistic either, because that's not the style I'm going for. I want to get that flavor, but I'm not looking to copy. So this is how I use video reference to break things down. I know a lot of people through the years have asked me, how do you do it? Here's how I do it, okay? I don't want this video to run too long. It's good to have you. I hope this helped. I hope I didn't go too fast, didn't go too slow. It's always so hard to find that level. And we'll see you next month when we start getting into this a little bit more, man.
I feel good. I knew that I would not.